of Humboldt County. This candidate forum on Zoom this year because of the pandemic. We have asked all candidates for our forums this fall to come to a Zoom invitation and their passcodes for their specific forums. They got this a few days in advance. League members will host, moderate, and time the meetings. Only these league members and the candidates themselves will be present in the Zoom sessions. No additional participants will be allowed. A brief caveat: Zoom forum format is all new to the League of Women Voters. Anyone who has participated in digital events over the last 5 months knows that there can be technical difficulties, there can be glitches and rough spots during the forum. Often these glitches are based entirely on an individual's physical location or their internet service. We urge candidates and viewers to please be patient and understanding. If someone's screen freezes or a speaker's words come out strangely, a participant gets bumped off and has to rejoin, please, kindness and a sense of humor are essential here. This forum is being recorded and aired for anyone to view on Access Humboldt and YouTube. Links to the recorded forums and schedules will be advertised and made available to the public by the League. This video recording is the property of the League of Women Voters of Humboldt County. The link to the video may be shared, but no portion of this video may be used for promotion or advertising purposes by candidates or by organizations. Tonight, the League presents the candidates for election to the, let's see if I get this right, Mckinleyville Unified High School School District. No, Arcata.
Humboldt.
Northern Humboldt.
Northern Humboldt. Sorry, I am so sorry. I messed up with my script. Yes, the Northern Humboldt Unified High School District. I get that right this time? All right. The two candidates for this, three candidates are on the ballot for this position. Two candidates accepted our invitation. They are here. The incumbent is Aristea Saulsbury, and the other candidate is Cedric Aaron. The third candidate, Janelle Jones, did not respond to our invitation, so she is not here. The League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan political organization, encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League is dedicated to providing impartial information to voters about candidates and the political process in order to help them make informed decisions. This is part of our citizen education program. The purpose of a candidate meeting is to give citizens an opportunity to hear the candidates' views on a variety of issues. The League of Women Voters does not endorse candidates or political parties. Each candidate has a minute for an opening statement, a minute to answer each question that I will pose, and a minute for a closing statement. We are now going to begin with Aristea Saulsbury with her opening statement.
Good evening. I am Aristea Saulsbury. I am a Mckinleyville resident whose family has lived on the North Coast since time immemorial. I am a mom of a child who is growing up into the Northern Humboldt Union High School District, which is a mouthful, in the coming years. And I've also taught for quite a long time younger children who are now high schoolers. And since joining this high school board, it has been a proud place for me to help build community. Since being appointed, I've spent this past year really focused on doing my homework on the district, understanding legal obligations and the budget, But on top of that, really getting to know the people who are at the table and the people who aren't at the table and why that is. I won't say that it has been easy work by any means, but it has been really rewarding hard work, and it helps me know I'm contributing to a better world. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll have an opening statement from Cedric Aaron.
Good evening, Humboldt County. My name is Cedric Aaron Jr., and I am so thrilled for thank our host for tonight's platform so our community could learn about Aristea and I as candidates. I've been a resident of the Northern Humboldt community for 11 years with my wife, where she was born and raised in Humboldt County, and my 3 daughters. I have both a bachelor's and master's degree in social work, and I've worked in various roles as a professional helper for the last 13 years in public systems. 7 of those years have been in public education. As a social worker, there's no such thing as turning it off. What I mean by that is that social workers should aspire to uphold 6 core values, including service, social justice, dignity and worth of a person, importance of human relationships, integrity, and competence. I live up to these 6 core values in both my professional and personal life. And I'm so eager to selflessly serve our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Cedric, we will begin with you for the question. And the question is, do you currently have, or have you had, children or grandchildren who attended public schools in Mckinleyville? And please explain.
In Mckinleyville, no. No, I have not. I have, like I said before, I have 3 daughters. And when I first moved to Humboldt County, I moved to Aristea. And that's just where, at that time, housing was affordable for my family and I. And I moved to Mckinleyville about 4 years ago because we were able to purchase a home at a price that was great for our family. During those 7 years, my children and my family, you know, they've been in their schools in Aristea and got used to the culture there. And this, you know, we decided to keep them there. But I've worked in Mckinleyville schools as a professional, and I'm fully aware of the strengths and areas of opportunity that the Mckinleyville schools have. And I'm a big fan of Mckinleyville schools. I'm an advocate. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Aristea, your answer to the question, please.
So I have a daughter she's 10, and she is attending one of Northern Humboldt's feeder schools. Similar to Cedric, it wasn't until after she was already enrolled in schools that we purchased a home in Mckinleyville. And really, we've been working over these past 5 or so years to really build community here in town. The other thing that I will say is that it is only within recent years that I've gotten to fully understand what school choice means and the impact that it has on public schools. And so as that information is becoming a part of my daily knowledge, I am trying to figure out how to both respect my daughter and her connections and uphold a commitment to the community and make sure that we are contributing to the schools in our districts. So it's a journey, but we're on our way.
Thank you. So Aristea, we'll start with you for the next question. How many Northern Humboldt Union High School District Board meetings have you attended in the past 2 years? And what did you learn about the position that you are seeking?
Luckily, I had to do this math for a question for someone else. As far as scheduled meetings, regular board meetings, and special meetings, it is at least 23, possibly more, just since last September. During the course of those meetings, I don't think I could fit everything I've learned, but what I could boil it down to is the fact that I've learned a lot about the community that comes together with a broad set of knowledge, and the way that everybody in the room, even when our conversations are difficult, everyone in the room is focused on students and their not only academic success, but their social emotional success. And so that makes it easier for me to come in and support the decision making where it needs support. And yeah, there's a lot of great people as a part of this district.
Thank you. Cedric, your answer, please.
And again, can you please repeat the question?
Yes. How many Northern Humboldt Union High School District Board meetings have you attended in the past 2 years? And what did you learn about the position that you're seeking?
I would, and this is just an estimate, but I would have to say maybe somewhere between 7 to 9, and that's just a guesstimate. Yeah, and I attended these meetings as a community member. My oldest daughter, she just graduated from Arcata High School last June. And throughout her time, there were definitely issues and things that I need to be informed as a parent and as well as a community member. In regards to the position that that if elected, that I'd be doing, I feel that as a governing board trustee, that it's really all about being an advocate to support students first, our teachers, our parents, and our stakeholders, and working with the district leadership into just making positive decisions that's gonna be in the best interest of our students. And also at the same time with the folks that support them.
Thank you. And Cedric, you're first with this question. How will you bring a more just, inclusive, and equitable lens to the work of the Northern Humboldt Union High School District Board?
One, I'm a proud member of the Eureka NAACP chapter. I've been an active member probably for about 10 years, being here in Humboldt County. I'm currently a multicultural specialist with Humboldt State University. So a lot of the work that I do is through, well, all the work that I do is through a multicultural lens. As far as bringing this to the district, again, I'm very active in the community, and yeah, and just with that, being in meetings and being in spaces where communities of color would want my presence being there, just whether just speaking up or saying certain things, or just being a presence in that space. And again, just looking at policies that are going to be addressing equity within our district as we move forward.
Thank you. Aristea, your answer, please.
So I could go on for much longer than a minute, but I am particularly passionate about equity and justice. I do a lot of training and consulting outside of my day job. I call it a side hustle. It has become more of a co-hustle. And within that work, I find a dual focus that we need to have, which is on the social emotional well-being. What is the experience that students and their families and our staff are having, whether they are folks of color or whether they are socioeconomically disadvantaged or English language learners or foster or homeless youth. And then also, what is the data saying? And what the data says in our district is that these kids are not doing as well as kids who fit kind of the standard norm for our district. And so I want to bring that front and center, and also remember to bring that to the front of the conversation when we're in closed sessions, when we're in the middle of decision making, so that we can make it a more just school system.
Thank you. You're first for the next question, which is, what experience do you have that makes you a good choice for the Northern Humboldt Union High School District Board? And I am going to give you 2 minutes for this.
Thank you. Um, well, as I was just saying, the experience with racial equity, I did not expect to be using these skills this soon into my term, but I think the uprising over the summer has really shown that it is something that students and families, many of them, want addressed. So bringing those to the table has been useful. I'm also really experienced with community building and facilitation. I want to find ways for us to collaborate with one another rather than having the traditional board dynamic of board members at the dais, community at the podium. I want to build relationships and collaborate. So that experience is really useful. The other piece of my experience that really plays into my work is I'm currently working at the Mckinleyville Family Resource Center and increasingly trying to build a sense of local engagement and community with one another. The pandemic has made this difficult, but we need each other more than ever. So finding ways to connect over Zoom, finding ways to connect in safe, socially distanced ways, encouraging people to reach out or get engaged in politics. These are all of the things that I'm constantly trying to do with people that I know and people I don't yet know. And then probably one of the more fun pieces of my background that makes Northern Humboldt a great place for me is during my time as a preschool teacher, I had hundreds of kids go through my program, and several of those are currently in No Hum schools. So every time I open the pepper box, like, oh, there's that kid. Oh my goodness, like he's about to graduate. And actually, Cedric's two younger daughters went through my program as well. So it's exciting watching them grow up into the school district and having a safe space for them on the other end of their educational experience.
Thank you. Cedric, you have 2 minutes for this question.
I believe my professional experience is going to be so fruitful for this board. I have an education background in social work, and with that lens, I practice my skill set just with a community-centered, person-centered approach. So when I'm in a space regarding problem solving and decision making, me is not in that space. It's really about who I'm serving, and that is our community and our students. I've also, in my work experience, I've also worked in multidisciplinary systems and groups. So I've worked with doctors, nurses, law enforcement officers, correctional officers, teachers, professors, other counselors, so forth. And we're all different, but being in a room to make decisions that are impacting other people's lives and doing that with integrity, doing that with kindness, and doing that with active listening skills has been fruitful. And again, being on this board is I'm taking that same lens, you know, making decisions that's gonna be impacting lives, not now, but in the long-term future. Personally, again, I'm fairly active in the community, you know. 2 months ago, Aristea brought out with the racial social unrest, and that had led for the district to hold listening sessions for both Arcata and McKinleyville High School BIPOC community. And I was invited to both of those spaces by community members and students. And again, being able to be, as a community member and a professional, I believe I could do the board good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Cedric, you're first for this question. And the question is, what goals and issues will you address on the board should you be elected?
Goals and issues. Goals and issues. Well, one of my goals would be to debunk certain myths that the communities might have with the different high schools that make up the district. I believe that all of the high schools have their strengths and they're all unique. And I think that's really awesome to give students and family a choice of their education that best fits their needs. I believe that that's going to take more than just community reaching out to me. I want to go to them and figure out, hey, what's going to make, what's not working at the school that you're in, or what's not working at the school that you've heard of, that you heard what all these issues are about. Definitely, I want to address issues as far as racism, you know, and that is a thing that the district leadership has acknowledged. And I want to help not create problems, but be a solution. And again, understanding that racism, especially in our country, is complex and it's complicated, and it's not going to be fixed overnight. But for me, being patient and being understanding of where everybody's at, of that awareness, is going to be crucial. Also too, you know, and I also believe that also affects, you know, where folks are sending their kids at school, you know. I think just to continue to highlight all the positive things that each school is offering. Like, I know there's a really robust trade program that Jack Shepard had started a few years back. You know, we have an awesome Indian education program that Mckinleyville High is also offering, and also throughout the district. And I could go on and on, but my time is up, so I am going to.
Thank you. Aristea, you have 2 minutes for this one.
Thank you. So I'm gonna start with the elephant in the room within all of our meetings, which is the budget. We are really, really thankful that due to kind of emergency funding that came through this year for COVID, and the state making sure that we are held harmless for the amount of students that we have, and actually we have higher enrollment than we did last year. We're in a good financial position this year. But all of the expert advice that I'm hearing is to prepare for some really rough, lean years ahead. And so I want to start having conversations collaboratively about the budget as soon as possible, so that we can figure out where are the places that we could be smarter, where are the ways that we could build up our reserve for a rainy day, because the district has a great track record of having a reserve and being able to get through tough times. I also want to look at the cost of insurance. We are having an ongoing conversation about how are we going to continue to offer our teachers a great health insurance option without it costing them more money. So that's going to take a collaborative effort from both of us. The other big thing on the table is COVID, you know, finding ways to manage distance learning in a way that keeps everyone feeling and actually being safe. It is a very different equation for COVID when we're talking about high schools rather than self-contained classrooms. And we get a lot of feedback from families, and we're just constantly listening, watching the data, taking in more information. So I want to be open to continuing to evolve our approach. And like 15 other things that I jotted down.
Thank you. The next question, of course, you're first, Aristea. What motivates you to run for a position on the Northern Humboldt Union High School District Board?
That is a great, first of all, shortening our name. Second of all, I am really motivated to be a part of this board because I have such a soft spot in my heart for people who dig into where they are, even if there are difficult situations, and work with other people to make the best of it and have hard conversations and find ways to collaborate. You know, my friend Cedric here, I bet if you looked at our politics, we would be in totally different places, but we share the same values, and we want to take care of these youth and all of the people supporting them. And the No Hum culture is already set up for that type of conversation. It's already set up to have really complex conversations that end up with most of us being able to come to compromise. And that's the kind of place I want to be. We're not here just to make a stand. We are here to collaborate. The other piece of this is really trying to build a better community for those kids that I served previously in my life. I've tried to find a thread between the multiple different careers I've had. I went from early childhood education to project management, and now I'm in violence prevention at the Family Resource Center. And it's all about making this community wrap its services and its offerings around whole people and helping them be whole people. And high school is right at the center of that conversation. How do we help young adults be whole people so that they can go and be hopeful adults as they go out into the world? And hopefully they want to stay here and continue building this community.
Thank you. Cedric, your answer, please.
And Bert, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes, certainly. What motivates you to run for a position on the board?
Yes, so a few months back, I believe it was June the 3rd, the district put out a racial equity statement letter that the district, again, provided to the community after the murder of George Floyd. And when I read that letter, it moved me. It moved me. The murder was just, you know, it was a hard thing. It affected the world. And I was broken, and I'll be honest about that. I was really broken just to see another murder happen in front of my eyes, you know, and having to explain that to my very young children. But when I read that letter of how it demanded that the district address racism, both past and present, and acknowledge that harm has been done even within our own district. And that was telling for me, because I've never ever seen a public school just, you know, hold themselves accountable, like, hey, we fallen short, you know what I mean? And we're sorry. But they were unafraid and unapologetic. And that really just had me wanting to be a part of a team, a leadership team in the community, to be a part of a group that's wanting to do good work and find answers. I hope with that, as far as what I'm about and representation, I hope that empowers students and families who generally are not a part of these conversations in the school board meeting to be at the table and make sure their unheard voices are heard. And I also am an advocate for teachers. During these last few months, I've heard so much disrespect from our teachers, and it's disheartening. And I just want our educators to know that I have your back, I hear you, and you matter. Thank you.
Thank you. We seem to be still on 2 minutes. I'm looking at the time. I'm hoping that we will be able to get in all the questions that I have. I'll let you continue with 2 minutes now, but as we get closer to the end of our hour, I may get you back to 1 minute, okay? So 2 minutes right now. And Cedric, you're first with this question. How do you feel about Proposition 15, which would increase funding for public schools through commercial and industrial property tax reassessment?
Sorry about that, got to unmute. Property 15, I'm in support of it just because I know that the funding will help take care of our public schools. Historically, just with California, or just more recently, like public schools are underfunded. So anywhere where we could get monies for our schools and for our children and for our teachers and for facilities, I'm all for it. And again, I just think it's a thing that we should pay for to serve our kids.
Thank you. Aristea, your answer, please.
Thank you. So Prop 15, I'm proud to support both as a board member. We recently passed a motion of support for Prop 15. I'm also proud to support it personally. As I was saying earlier, the budget outlook for the next couple of years is tough, and Prop 15 is really going to allow us to have a little bit of extra funding to continue to do all the great work we're doing, to be able to deal with rising costs that the district is facing in a way that doesn't impact individual families and small businesses. I think having corporations and large entities also contribute more to the well-being of the students of our community is only fair. And I'm especially glad that it has the exemption for commercial agriculture, because I think that would have been our biggest local impact. So I think we're in a really good position, and so far so good in terms of support that I've seen. I'm very happy that the governor has chosen to support it as well.
Thank you. And Aristea, you're first with the next question. What are your thoughts on President Trump's recent executive orders about race, U.S. history, and what content teachers should be allowed to teach?
That is, it's a tough one for me personally, as a Native woman who has grown up in local schools, who has had the experience of hearing history that did not reflect my actual experience, that didn't bring in the local cultures that we had. It has been really hard to unlearn some of those lessons. And it has also been really difficult as an adult to engage in conversations about race and about gender, because I think our students, when we don't have those conversations in schools, we don't have the muscles to have those conversations as adults. Frequently in my consulting work, we're just building those muscles and getting people ready to have those conversations. And it's hard work. So the idea that we can't have those conversations in schools, I think, really forgets the whole groups of youth who have not been able to be their full selves in their classroom. They've not been able to see themselves in their classrooms. And I'm really, really proud of the way that a lot of educators are thinking about their work in a different way. It hasn't had to be a mandate from the board coming down saying, you're going to teach this way. There are educators who are looking at the resources that are available and thinking about what that means for the students that they care so much about. I understand that there's pushback and a lot of hesitancy about that. It's really hard to think about doing things differently than we've always done them. And I have yet to be in a community that starts having these conversations when it doesn't make relationships stronger. So I really hope that we can continue to have these conversations.
Thank you. Cedric, your answer, please.
And then Bird, can you repeat the question one more time, please?
Yes, I can. What are your thoughts on President Trump's recent executive orders about race, U.S. history, and what content teachers should be allowed to teach?
Yeah, it's unfortunate to hear that from our current president. I strongly disagree with that. I know many of our educators here locally who were really excited to explore and dive in with the 1619 project, and also our local Native history and culture within our county. And yeah, I just feel like we're not doing our job by not having the full open book of history. You know what I mean? I strongly believe that it's we're not fully educating our students, and kind of what Aristea said, you know, with the high schools, I feel working with teenagers, it's really disrespectful to look at them as just kids who don't know anything. We're supposed to be uplifting our adolescents and preparing them for adulthood. We're helping them out transition. So the things that they learn in high school and even on the feeder school level, because I also believe that it should trickle down to the feeder schools before going to the high schools. yeah, we're doing these students a disservice, and again, teachers are biting at the bit just to get in and share. And I believe in our educators here in our district that can do that with grace, not inciting, heavy problematic disagreement. I believe that healthy discord would be managed in the classroom. And again, I feel like having board members who support that and support the teachers and our admin is just going to serve the students greatly with the complex situation as provided.
Thank you. Cedric, you're first with this next question, which is, what do you like best and value most of the Northern Humboldt Union High School District and the education students receive there?
Again, what I love best about this district is that I love that as a district, I feel like every student can find their own niche. You have the student who wants to do the more of the traditional route, you know what I mean? Taking classes and courses that are gonna get them graduated and move on to a 2-year or 4-year university. Great, but during my time as a juvenile diversion counselor for the district, I've also learned too that the college thing is not for all students, you know what I mean? And with that, we have to support students who choose not to go that route. So again, I mentioned that, and I thought it was just an awesome idea of just Jack Shepard steering the Trades Academy and getting students out in the field, building experience, getting experience, hands-on experience while they're getting in-class education, I'm always happy to hear, like, hey, welders, y'all gonna make more money than me, you know what I mean? And, I'm gonna drive a car, so hey, I gotta go get my car to get fixed by a mechanic. So I think that's awesome, Again, at Arcata High, I know they have the Arcata Art Institute for students who are into the fine arts. And again, I think that's really great how they integrate, again, just a traditional in-class education with the specialized fine arts program. Again, specialized the Indian education program and having advocates on and off campus supporting our Native students. Yeah, also believe that the district has a robust athletic program. Most of our sports programs are competing not just locally, but going to sectionals. And I'm a huge sports fan, so it's nice to see our students doing great on and off the court. And we also have awesome award-winning teachers on the state, national, and local level.
Thank you. Aristea, your answer, please.
First, ditto to all of that. That's all amazing, and my daughter is very excited to one day get to walk down the street so she can go to Mckinleyville High and enjoy those things. Also when I think about NoHum and all of the things that it offers, I think about the way that it really embraces its connection to the broader community. All of those activities that Cedric was mentioning, they're not things that are wholly housed on campus. They're things that have partnerships with local nonprofits and agencies. And we also work really hard to recognize that all of our families, they serve so many different roles in our community, and they need support from us. We need support from them. It's always really exciting for me when I get to talk to someone who works at NoHum that's like, oh yeah, I went to this high school when I was a kid. Or, oh, we've got a grandparent who's sending their kid here and the parents went here too. That's the stuff that's like the best part of community building for me. People choosing to stay in and create another generation of relationships. And I think in this moment of COVID, the way that we have responded as a district has really embraced that part of the community mentality. Yes, we are thinking of our students. Yes, we are thinking of our staff, and we are thinking of the broader community. Who are all of the people that we interact with? And how do we keep them safe as well? How do we teach that civic responsibility to our students and model it for them so that, you know, by the time we get on the other side of this thing, as many of us are there as possible to continue our community building?
Thank you. Aristea, you are first with this next question. Julie, I'd like to go back to 1 minute, please. Thank you. What qualities and behaviors should Northern Humboldt Union High School District school board members exhibit at board meetings and in the community?
There are quite a few. I would say that, first of all, I want to be clear that there's room for all of us to have different personalities and qualities, and it's really important that we can balance each other out. But within that, I think we need to know how to be really calm in high stress situations. I think we need to be consistent so that people can build trust with us and understand where we're coming from. And I think we need to be curious. A big part of our job is asking questions and really trying to get deeper so that people can learn. I also think that we really need to think in multidimensional ways. So not only thinking about this moment, but thinking about 10 years down the road, thinking about budgetary costs and human costs, effects within the district and outside of the district. So I've been lucky so far to have all of my colleagues embody those values, and I hope we continue.
Thank you. Cedric, your answer, please. Unmute there.
And then Bert, can you repeat the question one more time, please?
Yes, I can. What qualities and behaviors should Northern Humboldt Union High School District school board members exhibit at board meetings and in the community?
Yes, okay.
And it's 1 minute.
Okay, cool. At board meetings, I feel that, again, and this is where my experience as a professional will help as being calm and collective, you know what I mean? Also being a healthy, active listener and not waiting to respond to somebody who has a thought or a different of opinion. Somebody who can, in a healthy way, agree to disagree. A person, an individual who can have healthy boundaries. So whatever happens during a closed or open session stays there. And once that's not engaging problematically out in the community or on social media. And again, I carry myself as if my children are with me, and I want to model positive behavior as if my kids were watching me. And that's in private and publicly. Thank you.
Thank you. Cedric, you're first again with this next question. What do you see as the board's roles and responsibilities, including the determining of policy?
Oh, I'm on mute. I really feel like the board's role is to make sure that the district is upholding their vision, their mission, and goals with trust and integrity. I also believe that it's important for board members to be easily as accessible as they can, and really follow through with active in communication with staff and faculty, families, and stakeholders. So I know that my understanding is that, you know, we'll have our board emails, and hey, we invite people to come reach out to us. But again, I believe that in nurturing relationships, it should be a two-way street. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be active in engaging the community and the students and the stakeholders, as well as them reaching out to me. I'm already getting asked certain questions about my role as a board member privately in my campaign. And I want to continue to do that as well.
Thank you. Aristea, your answer, please.
So we have a few different roles, but I think that our most important role is that of oversight. So really serving as community members, both, you know, on stage and behind the scenes, so that we can represent community needs and represent the voices that we are hearing. The other really important role we have is doing our homework. our board packets are not small, but it is our duty to look through those and really understand everything that we can, ask questions of the staff when we can, and get to know as much as we can. I just, after a year of doing that, I know so many more things than I did a year ago. And finally, I think I'm responsible for building relationships with people within the school district, not just admin, people up and down within the structure. COVID has hampered that a little bit, but I'm looking to drop into some online classes soon.
Thank you. You're first for this next question. How, excuse me, how will you support students and families in mitigating distance learning equity challenges?
So we are, as a district, we're really active in doing that as much as we can. The number one issue that comes up is the tech issue. So we have given out all of our devices, that's hotspots, that's Chromebooks, everything in between. We ordered more very early on in the pandemic before we knew we would need them for the fall, and they're just now arriving, and we're getting those out as quickly as we can. You know, we're also advocating for a student support team, a group of people who comes together every week, identifies kids that need a little extra support, finds ways to wrap services around them. We have a survey that just went out to families that's talking about how distance learning is going, what challenges they have, if families are aware of all the resources that we have. You know, it's not an ideal situation, and our team is really committed to supporting the academic needs and the social emotional needs as much as we can.
Thank you. Cedric, your answer, please.
And then Bird, can you repeat the question, please?
I can. How will you support students and families in mitigating distance learning equity challenges?
Yes. Again, I have two kids who are currently distant learning, and one of the key things, Aristea spoke on this, is definitely the technology, making sure that students are equipped and ready to go with their distance learning, making sure that their Chromebooks are working, all the keys on the keyboard is all there, those kind of things. The hotspots, you know, just making sure that families have accessibility to the internet, and again, just that communication piece, you know what I mean? Like Aristea mentioned, I believe it was yesterday was the last day to turn in a survey for families to kind of figure, hey, how are distance learning going? I also am aware of students who have learning disabilities, IEP plans, and need that extra support that maybe they can't they can't receive at home. And again, just having those ongoing conversations of like, what's the plan right now? It's not the end all be all. This is going to be moving and going, and let's work together to figure that out.
Thank you. Cedric, you're next for this question. You're first for this next question. What steps would you take to ensure the safety of all students, staff, and the community throughout the pandemic?
Yes. Again, as Aristea mentioned, you know, doing your homework and research is very, very important. And the little research, the research that I've done is that the district has a policy as far as addressing and limiting the spread of infectious diseases. That prevention and education are the most effective means of managing that. So I strongly agree that the district has done that with their decision to do distance learning, at least for this short time, while they get data and information to see what the next steps are, and also just more education around distance learning, you know, and with teachers finding different ways and unique ways to reach out to their class, to their students, you know, whether it's live instruction, whether it's recorded instruction, whether it's, hey, let's just take a class just to talk about and address our wellness, because this is really hard for ourselves and everybody right now.
Thank you. Aristea, your answer, please.
So you may have gotten a sense of me so far in this session. I'm normally very touchy-feely, but for when it comes to this issue, I'm all about the data. National politics aside, local politics aside, the fact of the matter is that when you look at the data, we are at a risk of moving toward that increased threat level. We have cold and flu season coming up. I've got concerns about the number of staff that we have if we move to in-person. So there's all these different pieces kind of rolling around in the mind. And so, I see my role as supporting the team, the volunteer team. It's any staff member who's wanted to be engaged in this conversation of sorting through family feedback, of looking at, what PPE we have secured, how are our ventilation systems, how are we communicating with public health officials, what are we looking at with the data, and sorting through all of these things. And it's really my role to support this team that is doing a great job. And I could talk for another
Thank you. And you can talk, but this is another question for you to answer. You're first again, Aristea. What steps would you take to ensure this? Oh, that's the one I just asked you. How will you address civil discourse and open discussion about all issues at Northern Humboldt Union High School District board meetings?
One thing that I have noticed from the public meetings I have attended, not just NOHUM's meetings, is that especially in the virtual world, as we're getting used to this as a format, it is really important to have clear rules, clear understanding of the technology, and being really open about what the structure is with the public. Also, that means building relationships with one another on the governance team. That said, as I mentioned earlier, kind of reimagining what our public meetings look like and open discussion looks like is a goal of mine. I don't want to posit what that is because it would be a collaborative conversation, but I want to be able to engage directly with the public and with staff in these meetings so that we can really remember our shared goals and values and collaborate as much as possible.
Thank you. Cedric, your answer, please.
And then Bert, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, I can. How will you address civil discourse and open discussion about all issues at Northern Humboldt Union High School District board meetings?
Okay, yes. Again, I go back off to my work experience. I facilitate a lot of groups, like group counseling, group discussions, and those kind of things. And what we start off right out the gate is going over norms and rules and structure. So our goals and purposes don't get lost in meetings and during important conversations that involve decision making. I also believe that, again, just modeling is going to be really, really helpful. You know what I mean? Is that the board members, we're the governing board, and if we are practicing poor facilitation skills or poor communication or not being able to check our personal from our professional values, that's going to be problematic. And I think about as I'm hoping that we have more student and youth engagement in these board meetings, in the board, I want to have a space where our young students can see, like, hey, adults can have a healthy conversation and get some things done.
Thank you. This is the last question that we got from the community, and Julie, I'm going to give them 2 minutes each on this question because it's almost 2 questions. How are you working on and looking at your own implicit bias? And what are you doing to help dismantle white supremacist systems locally? And Cedric, you are first. Unmute.
All right. Now, thank you. God, that's interesting because I just took last week the Harvard, the infamous Harvard implicit bias examination that anybody could go online and do for themselves. And I strongly recommend that folks who are working to do it, as well as just doing it personally, because you're going to be engaging with different types of people in the community. As far as that, again, this is where my both my professional and personal experience ties in with the work that I do, working with people. Every interaction is going to impact their lives. You know, whether I have to make an important decision on what services and resources that they're going to utilize, or the type of intervention and tools that I'm going to be given to that individual. And again, that's where daily self-reflection is going to be really, really important. And that's not okay, I'm going to do that one time out of the week and I'm good, or go to a 2-hour in-service and check my box and okay, like I'm woke now and I'm good. No, this type of work is daily work. And Aristea spoke to this earlier, and even in that racial equity statement letter, that they put it on Front Street that they're going to be looking at policies to ensure that not just students, you know what I mean? Because sometimes it's not just the students, it's staff and faculty to really do that work to make sure that their bias is not mixed up in educating and caring for our students. And as a board member, I'm going to hold admin and our district accountable, and to make sure that that is that's moving forward, as well as getting community feedback where the district is falling short in that area, and presented that to my, if elected, fellow board members.
Thank you. Aristea, your answer, please.
So to be anti-racist is to, it's not about finger pointing. It's not about saying, oh, that thing you over there did, that, let me get you for that. It's all about the internal work. It's all about how are my actions impacting other people. The issue that I have been most attentive to in terms of my implicit bias, particularly since the pandemic started, is a bias about the English language and the impact that having materials only in English or taking a really long time to get materials in Spanish has on members of our community. From everything I've seen from the Family Resource Center, from public health data, and from feedback from community members, not being aware of our own biases in terms of the language that we use has had a significant impact on the community, and it has long before the pandemic. It's just now it's in focus. So as someone who really works to be anti-racist, I'm consistently looking for those blind spots that I have. And within that, having conversations with other people about those blind spots. Again, when I do trainings, it's not a matter of going in and saying, okay, you got to look out for this term, and when you hear this term, get really upset. It's about building relationships with people who have different life experiences than you, and really being willing to have conversations when you have hurt someone, and be open to that and open to change. I think it's essential that we continue modeling that and holding ourselves accountable in public spaces, so that we can improve the lives of all of our students. This work is not only going to impact students and families of color, this is work that impacts the life skills of every single student and family.
Thank you. That concludes all of the questions that we got from your voters. I hope they are all listening and heard your answers to all the questions they sent in. It's now time for your closing statements, and we will begin with Cedric.
Again, I just want to thank you, our gracious host, and Aristea, for learning about me as a candidate for the Northern Humboldt Union High School District School Board. Yeah, I have taken the time throughout the year to reflect my time here in Humboldt County. Like I said before, I've been here for 11 years, and it's a great place for opportunity. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to gather and maintain a sense of community. I want that for all residents of Humboldt County, especially those within the district. It takes individuals with the goal to make that first step in creating positive change. That's why I'm running for a seat on this board. I want to help bridge unheard voices with voices that have historically always had a seat at the table. And I strongly believe my education, my experience, and my extensive community service history will help meet that goal. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Aristea, your closing statement, please.
So, Northern Humboldt community, I know we are facing some difficult days currently and ahead of us, but I am consistently impressed with the grace that I see from the majority of folks, including people who are in crisis. None of us are having an amazing time during the pandemic, but we're finding ways to support the most vulnerable among us. So I am really proud to be a part of a district so focused on collaboration, that's open to trying new things, that's finding compromise among a variety of needs and opinions. I can't promise that every voter is going to agree with every decision that I make, but I can promise you that I will listen, I will do my homework, and I will care deeply about each decision. And I can promise you that I know my colleague here, and he is just as passionate and committed as I am. So I really hope I get the chance to serve alongside him for the next 4 years.
Thank you. This concludes our forum for tonight, but I would like to thank you candidates for your willingness to come forward and to answer the questions from your voters. It's the way they can learn more about you. I would also like to thank our timekeeper, Julie Kelly, wave there, Julie, and Deborah Downs, our host, and thank the public too for the very interesting questions that you sent in, and for the candidates to answer them in a very interesting way. Thank you for viewing this Zoom presentation, which will be available on YouTube and Access Humboldt. So thank you to everyone who participated in this. Don't forget to vote. Vote on November 3rd or before. Send in your ballot early if you're voting by mail. And help us make democracy work. Thank you and good night.